Now I would go a little bit into some troubleshooting techniques. One of the things that is very important is finding that transaction. That, you know, what is that item that came for this specific item? What is the transaction for this item? What was the shipment that got dispatched? As I would be going into the data dictionary a little bit later on, but do understand that when we have these checkboxes checked, that's why I always keep them checked, is that your data is in tables SLID data detail and SLIO data detail packed. I would describe later what packed means, but all of the data is in a table, right? Which basically means that if you have to find data, you can always, SQL is always possible to do in order to find that transaction. And that is something, a very important insight, that finding data is never difficult. Of course, there is a event query screen, those screens are available as well, but they would not allow you to search at the detail level, like which files had this data in them. So in those cases, you can always go to the tables themselves. So this is what I mean by packed. Like when an item transaction came in, there is an actual row in SLID data detail table, IBSEC data, where you would see a record like this. All of the data is packed together, all the columns, right? So this was defined as a CSV. So all the data is packed together. So you can, of course, just simply do a query on this table where you can say IBSEC data like a certain value, and you would find this transaction number, and then you can figure everything out from there, right? So that is a very simple, easy way to find the transaction. But then I have come across the situation where just a like operation is not good enough. We want to parse out the fields. Like as you can see here, they are packed together, and I want to see it like this. Again, very easy, standard command, SL list IFT data field, that's available standard, and you would have all of this presentation available as well, so you can refer to it later. So you can call this command for a specific IFD data sequence, a specific detail sequence, and you would see output like this. So in several times I've used this where the specific troubleshooting scenario demanded that I had to look at data like this, maybe then filter for a specific type of palette length or whatnot, and we can do all that via this command. So nothing that it should be too intimidating. Then there are sometimes very difficult reprocessing scenarios that something was down for 2 hours, and I want to take this type of transaction for this order and then reprocess those. So again, none of them should be intimidating. Understand that Integrator is built on top of Mocha, so which means all those things about pipes and selects and everything like that is there natively. So if you don't know about how to do certain reprocessing, very easy technique would be that you go to the standard screen, which is like event query screen, has a resend button, download has a download with trace button. All of those buttons are available. You trace them, and that is always something you would that would expose what Mocha command Integrator itself was using. So when Integrator is sending data to other system, there's a single Mocha command it calls. When it is processing a download, there's a single Mocha command it calls. So which means that if you ever have to do a very difficult reprocessing scenario, you can just simply write a select statement and then pipe it into the appropriate command that Integrator would call. So there's nothing native in Mocha about Integrator, or nothing in Integrator which is native about SAP. All of these are built using Mocha commands. So there are some typical issues that we have seen, and of course there would be more issues as well, but these are some of the typical ones that we often hear, that download is stuck in eProc, right? They're very common. That the most likely issue is that the processing algorithm crashed. So some of the processing algorithms used to be written in C, and there was a memory issue or something like that. Either it's a custom or standard, and that crashed. That would create this scenario where download would be in eProc. Otherwise, eProc is something which is transient. Or there is another one that my event is stuck in IC and it is not moving to SC, but if I click on it and say send, it goes to SC. It's a very typical pain. There, the idea is that Integrator wants to send data to the other systems in order it was sent to it, right? So if this is happening with you, what you should do is find the oldest event in IC, and then you would most likely see what I described in the row above, that event, for some reason, maybe it's a processing algorithm crashing or whatever, is not moving to SC. And that is why your next events are not going to SC either. An integrator bias is that it wants to send data to the system in order it got in. If it is a situation where you want to just put it aside, you can of course change that event status from IC to XX or something like that. I would have the data dictionary available for you. So that is how you can get through that scenario. Or sometimes it is that it is taking too long to move from IC to SC. So there you might have to multi-thread the sender process, or there could be algorithms that are causing issues. Otherwise, IC in integrator itself has very little overhead, as it is described, that using caching and whatnot. Integrator itself is not reading its own metadata while doing these things. And then event stays in EC for too long. In that case, you should simply go to synchronous accept send.